Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and we are back with more uh, about the U.S. Constitution. I forgot what I was going to do for a moment there. Today we'll be going over perhaps the longest section in Article 1. So I'm going to give this a section to itself because it's so big. And that means the next video after we'll finish Article 1. Uh, but yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this. This will be Article 1, Section 8. So, and again, reading from my American Constitutional Law textbook. So, all right, Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 1. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts, and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But all duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the U.S. So, Congress is the sole body responsible for collecting taxes and setting those taxes. Now, remember, since we have been talking about the Constitution, one of the big things I mentioned is that it replaces the Articles of Confederation because it made it hard to pay the soldiers after the Revolutionary War with that government. And they needed a uniform, stronger central government to do that. Very first thing is, as I continue to push, it is one of the more important issues of why we switched from an Articles of Confederation to U.S. Constitution. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 2. To borrow money on the credit of the United States. So Congress also makes the decision of if we shall borrow money from other countries to pay our debts. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 3. To regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with the Indian tribes. So Congress's duty is to uh, basically make legislation to regulate the commerce between the U.S. and other countries. Between U.S. states, they can't make their own deals. It has to be approved. And with the native tribes. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 4. To establish an uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcy throughout the United States. So again, this federal power superseding state power. You don't want all these confusing laws trying to counteract each other. You want the code to be very simple. Of course, as time's gone on, there's always been this or that, so it's still confusing, even supposed to be as simplistic as it is. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 5. To coin money, regulate the value thereof, and of foreign coin, and to fix the standards and weights, the standard of weights and measures. One thing America confuses the rest of the world on is we don't go by this standard of um, millimeters, meters, um, liters, kiloliters, and so on. We still were going on the uh, English measurement of weights and standards, ounces, feet. We do try to set up this standard for kilometers, milliliters, all this during Jefferson's presidency. But when the ship carrying the uh, weights and measures sinks, it never catches on publicly. Even though today, in the scientific realm and other things, we do use the metric, that's the name of it, metric measurements. So, but they also have the right under Congress to create money and decide how valuable each coin is. So we get the value of the nickel, the penny, the dime, the quarter. Then, as far as foreign coin, I think they're just trying to say it's Congress's duty to set that measurement of how much it initially is to compared to the value of foreign tender, foreign coinage. But anyway, Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 6, to provide for the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and current coin of the United States. That's another thing that was going on. People just counterfeited the coins because they were so different from place to place. They just made their own version of that coinage. And Now, the U.S. is like, we aren't going to allow the flood of coins unless it helps with something for the nation. We don't want our value of the coin to be depreciated. So, yeah, they weren't going to allow this to happen. Um, but yeah, Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 6, or 7, sorry. Paragraph 7, which is just one line, to establish the post office and post roads. So, delivery of mail. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 8. To promote the progress of science and useful arts by securing for limited times to authors and inventors the exclusive right to their respective writings and discoveries. Though this has become something that has become more in the lane of businesses to make money than rather to help science and useful arts. It's kind of been twisted by the desire for money. And that's another thing you can kind of withdraw from this. You hear a lot of people, oh, the founding fathers were so Christian. There were some of them that were very, very Christian, but the others that were very, very science based. They would fit right in today, just looking in awe at what we have discovered. But yeah, Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 9. To constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court. So while the Supreme Court is the final say in court cases, the Congress can set up tribunals or trials that it wishes were investigated that are inferior to the Supreme Court in say so, but they still have the power to do this. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 10. To define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas and offenses against the law of nations. So you have to remember, when was the Constitution? 1789? I think that's right. 1789. You still have an issue with pirates on the seas. You have an issue with other countries funding piracies. So yes, pirates were still a thing, and so it was something they were very concerned about because even up to this point, we were having sailors murdered on their ships or even kidnapped and put into labor on the ships of other nations. So that's one thing they wanted in there. Says we need to be able to define and punish these piracies as well as felonies committed on the high seas or and offenses against national laws, depending on just whatever nation it may be that their law was offended. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 11. To declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. So, technically, Congress is the one that's supposed to be able to declare war. I think in the 1960s, I think it is, that a portion of that ability was granted to the president under certain conditions for temporary strikes and stuff, just because they're like, what if we can't wait for Congress to assemble and we need to strike fast? So that was the excuse they made. But technically, yeah, Congress is supposed to decide who or when we go to war with. So let's see. Concerning captures on land and water, I think that's just arrests of foreign people on U.S. land or U.S. waters. What it's trying to say. So, as far as I as far as I understand, so Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 12, to raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for a longer term than 2 years. So Congress has the power to raise and support armies through pay and everything. But the appropriation of money in that period shall only be for 2 years. So I don't know if they have to request for longer terms, but yeah. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 13, to provide and maintain a navy. We're in the age when naval warfare is a big thing, so an army and a navy. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 14. To make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces. So they are to make rules for how the Army and Navy are regulated. And basically governed, administrated. Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 15. To provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. So generally, we just not have the Army and Navy. We have a militia, calling the people to war. We don't just have uh, just the standing military, which is not meant to be very big. We also can call in militia, people from other states, to help fight back these insurrections, these invasions. So, Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 16. To provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the U.S. or reserving to the states respectively the appointment of the officers and the authority of the training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. So Congress has a role in help getting these militias to help fight for the defense of the states and the country, um, as far as setting up their discipline, their arming, and how they're used to help defend the U.S. Although the exact use to train and discipline the militia, even though it can be listed forth by Congress on what they want to see, the exact use is administered by the states and decided by the states. So, Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 17. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square, as may, by cession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress, become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state in which the name shall be, for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, stockyards, and other needful buildings. So, the Congress shall decide the um, in all cases of the district and the land ceded by particular states with the acceptance of Congress become the seat of government of the United States. Remember, up to this point, the U.S. capital is not Washington, D.C. There is no Washington, D.C. We had the capital in Philadelphia, New York, up and down the East Coast here in the bigger ports. But Congress shall also decide what other buildings are set up for the defense and thus forth. So essentially, Congress deciding where and how to build DC. And Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 18. To make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution and foregoing powers, and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States or in any department or officer thereof. So there's the necessary and proper clause. You hear that a lot, necessary and proper. And it's essentially just talking about Congress has the power to legislate, to make laws, uh, to decide how what this country does going forward. So, but yeah, that is Section 8. All that leaves us is Article 1, Section 9, and Article 1, Section 10. And we'll be finished with Article 1 of the Constitution. But that'll be it for the breakdown on this. I'll see you all in the next video. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. I could not remember that in one of these recent videos I had been doing, but anyway. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, later.